Hare Krishna. Welcome to ISKCON of Silicon Valley. We greeting everybody also who's joined us online from various places around the world to continue the primary activity of devotional service, which is to hear and chant. Fortunately for us, we have multiple authorized sources from which to hear and chant, which give an expanded vision of the particular scriptures that we hear and chant from. Our primary sources are Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. We also have Nectar of Devotion and the teachings of Lord Chaitanya and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There are other supporting literatures as well, like Upadeshamrita. But those who keep these particular books within their orbit every single day and stay current with them will find that their path in devotional service becomes well-informed. And that's important because there's a lot of information that we've already taken in from the world, and it tends to influence us. And there's also information that we can take in currently from various places. However, when we focus our energies, meaning especially in this context, hearing and chanting from the books that Srila Prabhupada has provided us. Of course, there are many other scriptures which are becoming available, like Tattva Sandarbha, and the Bhagavat Sandarbha is coming out fairly soon as well. And obviously these books are authorized as well when they come out through a pristine process with those who are qualified to translate them. However, our main focus is absorbing Srimad Bhagavatam and finding its main instructions and applying them to our lives. There's very little time, actually, when we count how much time we have left, how much time we actually have in any given day to hear and chant. So knowing what to do and what are the most important activities to do during the day, and taking advantage of doing those every day, even though it may seem insignificant to begin with, will have a huge impact on our lives, and we'll also experience progress. And that's important because without experiencing progress, by feeling that we're becoming more and more freed from the influences of lower modes of nature, then we won't be encouraged to continue. So today we're going to start with reciting a chapter of the Bhagavatam called the Prayers of Queen Kunti. And this is a practice that everyone can do at home or anywhere else. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. That is to recite a chapter a day, a Bhagavad Gita. For this we have a website called readchad.com. Chad is C-H-A-D. It means chapter a day. And also there's Chad Plus, which means that you do Bhagavad Gita and also a chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's adds a healthy, nutritious, spiritual diet. If one does that every day, I can guarantee that you'll feel a spiritual foundation in your life. So let's have a free space by chanting together the Srimad Bhagavatam, and if you haven't done your Gita, you can do it later. That's also pretty easy because we're all familiar with Bhagavad Gita, and it just requires a few minutes. So here's the prayers by Queen Kunti, about to be manifest on the screen. I'm quite confident of it. How is everyone today? Excellent. Super good and getting better. Outstanding but still improving, right? Correct. Nice to see you, Karunath Prabhu. Kunti uvacha namaste purusham tvajam ishvaram prakrite param alakshyam sarva bhutanam antar bahir avastatam Maya javani kachchadam ajnadhoksajam avyayam nalakshase muda drusha nato natya daro yata tata paramahamsana munina mamalatmanam bhakti yoga vidhanartam katam pashyemehi striyaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanabhaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangriye Yata Hrishikesha Kalena Devaki Kamsena Rutati Chiram Shucharpita Vimochitaham Cha Sahatmaja Vibho Tvayaivanatena Muhurvapadganad Vishan Mahagne Purushara Darshanad Asat Sabaya Vanavasa Kritshrata Mride mride neka maharatastrato Dronyastrataschasma hare birakshita Vipara santuta shashvat Tatra tatra jagat guru Bhavato darshanam yatsyad Apunar bhavadarshanam Janmaishvarya shruta shribir Edhamana madakpuman Naivarhatya vidatum vai Tvama kinchana gocharam Namo kinchana vittaya Nivritta gunavrittaye Atma ramaya shantaya Kaivalya pataye namaha Manye tvam kalamishanam Anadi nidadam vibhum Samam charantam sarvatra Bhutanam yanmita kalehi Naveda kaschit bhagavam shakirshitam Tave hamanasya nranam vidambanam Nayasya kaschit daitosti karichit Dveshascha yasmin vishamamatir nranam Janma karma cha vishvatman Ajasya kartur atmanaha Tiryan rishishu yadusu Tadadyanta nibandhanam Gopyadade tvaya kritaga siddhamatavad Yate dashashu kalilanjana sambramaksham Vaktram nadiya bhavabhavanayasti Samam vimohayatabhir apiyad bhipeti Kechit ahurajam jatam Punya shlokasya kirtaye Yadu priyasyan vavaye Malayasye vachandanam Apare vasudevasya Devakyam yachitobhyagad Ajastvam asya shemaya Vadhaya cha suradvisham Bharavatarana yanye Bhuvo nava ivo dadao Siddhantya bhuri bharena Jato yatma bhuvartitaha Bhavesmin klishyamananam Avidya kama karma bihi Shravana smaranarhani Karishan iti kechana Shinvanti gayanti granantya bhikshnasha Smaranti nandanti tave hitam jana Teeva pashyantya vacharena tavakam Bhava pravaho paramam padambujam Apyadyanastvam swakrite hitah prabho Jihasasi switsurido nujivina Yesham nachanyad bhavatak padambujad Parayanam rajasu yojitam hasam Kevayam namarupabhyam Yadubi saha pandavaha Bhavato darshanam yarhi Rishikanam iveshitahu Neyam shobhishyate tatra yate danim gadadhara tvatpadar ankita bhati swalakshana valakshitai. Ime janapada sridha supakvaushadi viruda manadrina yudanvanto yedante tava vikshitai. Ata vishvesha vishvatman vishvamurte swakeshu me sneha pasham imam chinti tridham pandushu vrishnushu tvayimananya vishaya matir madhu pate sakrit ratim udvahatad adda gangevaugam udanvati. Shri Krishna Krishna Saka Vrishna Vrishabhavani Drug Rajan Yavamsha Dahana Babavarga Virya Govinda Godvija Sarati Haravatara Yogeshwara Kila Guru Bhagavan Namaste. Sutuvacha Pritayetam Kalapadai Parinuka Kilodaya Mandalam Jahasi Vaikunto Mohayan Ivamayaya. And now the word translations. Srimati Kunti said altogether, O Krishna, I offer my obeisances unto you because you are the original personality and are unaffected by the qualities of the material world. You are existing both within and without everything, yet you are invisible to all. Being beyond the range of limited sense perception, you are the eternally irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of diluting energy. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized. You yourself descend to propagate the transcendental science of devotional service under the hearts of the advanced transcendentalists and mental speculators, who are purified by being able to discriminate between matter and spirit. How then can we women know you perfectly? Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda, and the other cowherd men of Vrindavan, and the enliver of the cows and the senses. My respectful obeisances are unto you, O Lord, whose abdomen is marked with a depression like a lotus flower, who are always decorated with garlands of lotus flowers, whose glance is as cool as the lotus, and his feet are engraved with lotuses. O Hrishikesh, master of the senses and lord of lords, you have released your mother Devaki, who was long imprisoned and distressed by the envious King Kamsa, and me and my children from a series of constant dangers. My dear Krishna, your lordship has protected us from a poisoned cake, from a great fire, from cannibals, from the vicious assembly, from sufferings during our exile in the forest, and from the battle where great generals fought. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Ashvatthama. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. My Lord, your lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectful parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling. My obeisances are unto you, who are the property of the materially impoverished. You have nothing to do with the actions and reactions of the material modes of nature. You are self-satisfied, and therefore you are the most gentle and are the master of the monists. My Lord, I consider your lordship to be eternal time, the supreme controller, without beginning and end, the all-pervasive one. In distributing your mercy, you are equal to everyone. The dissensions between living beings are due to social intercourse. O Lord, no one can understand your transcendental pastimes, which appear to be human and so are misleading. You have no specific object of favor, nor do you have any object of envy. People only imagine that you are partial. Of course, it is bewildering, O soul of the universe, that you work though you are inactive, and that you take birth, though you are the vital force of the unborn. You yourself descend among animals, men, sages, and aquatics. Verily, this is bewildering. My dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes overflooded with tears, which washed the mascara from your eyes. And you were afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering to me. Some say that the unborn is born for the glorification of pious kings, and others say that he is born to please one of your dearest devotees. You appear in his family as sandalwood appears in the Malaya hills. Others say that since both Vasudeva and Devaki prayed for you, you have taken your birth as their son. Undoubtedly you are unborn, yet you take your birth for their welfare and to kill those who are envious of the demigods. Others say that the world, being overburdened like a boat at sea, is much aggrieved, and that Brahma, who is your son, prayed for you, and so you have appeared to diminish the trouble. And yet others say that you appeared for the sake of rejuvenating the devotional service of hearing, remembering, worship, and so on, in order that the conditioned souls suffering from the material pangs might take advantage and gain liberation. O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities, or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. O my Lord, you have executed all duties yourself. Are you leaving us today, though we are completely dependent on your mercy and have no one else to protect us, now when all kings are at enmity with us? As the name and fame of a particular body is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit, similarly, if you do not look upon us, all our fame and activities, along with the Pandavas and Yadus, will end at once. O Gadadhara Krishna, our kingdom is now being marked by the impressions of your feet, and therefore it appears beautiful. But when you leave, it will no longer be so. All these cities and villages are flourishing in all respects because the herbs and grains are in abundance. The trees are full of fruits, the rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, and the oceans full of wealth. And this is all due to your glancing over them. O Lord of the universe, soul of the universe, O personality of form of the universe, please therefore sever my tie of affection for my kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. O Lord of Madhu, as the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. O Krishna, O friend of Arjuna, O chief amongst the descendants of Vrishni, you are the destroyer of those political parties which are disturbing elements on this earth. Your prowess never deteriorates. You are the proprietor of the transcendental abode, and you descend to relieve the distresses of the cows, the brahmanas, and the devotees. You possess all mystic powers, and you are the preceptor of the entire universe. You are the Almighty God, and I offer you my respectful obeisances. Sutta Goswami said, the Lord, thus hearing the prayers of Kunti Devi, composed in choice words for his glorification, mildly smiled. That smile was as chanting as his mystic power. Shri Kunti Devi ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. We're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, text number 24. And I'll need a Bhagavad Gita, if you don't mind. I know we do distribute them here. We could probably keep them in stock. Which reminds me, just ordered 20,000 of the new smaller sized hardback version of the Bhagavad Gita. Mostly to be used for the Motel Gita. It's almost the same price, just a little bit more, but it's hardback, coming all the way from Europe. We'll have them sometime soon. And when I showed them I had a copy of that in Mayapur, and I showed some of the brahmacharis from the traveling parties. They went nuts. They said, "How can we get these?" So, unfortunately, Savas Prabhu got a new warehouse in Los Angeles because he was running out of space. But he didn't, that was a couple of years ago. He didn't know what expansive growth we'd have here in America with book distribution. So his new double-sized warehouse is already full to the rafters. That's why I could only order 20,000. He didn't have room for them. I said, "Savas, get a bigger warehouse. We're just getting started here." So please repeat. Partiva dharano dumas. Tasmad agnistrayi mayaha. Tamasastura jastasmad. Sattvam yad brahmadarshanam. 3 chanters, please. Partiva dharano dumas. Tasmadagnis trimayaha. Tamasastura jastasmad. Sattvam yad brahmadarshanam.
Parthivadarano dhumas.
Parthivadarano dhumas.
Tasmadagnistrayimaya.
Tasmadagnistrayimayaha.
Tamasastura jastasmad.
Tamasastura jastasmad.
Sattvam yad brahmadarshanam.
Sattvam yad brahmadarshanam. Or ek.
Parthivadarano dhumas.
Parthivadarano dhumas.
Tasmadagnistrayimayaha.
Tasmadagnistrayimayaha.
Tamasastura jastasmad.
Tamasastura jastasmad.
Sattvam yad brahmadarshanam.
Sattvam yad brahmadarshana. Another word for word. Parthivat. From earth. Darunaha. Firewood. Dhumaha, smoke. Tasmat, from that. Agni, fire. Trayi, Vedic sacrifices. Mayaha, made of. Tamasaha, in the mode of ignorance. To, but. Rajaha, the mode of passion. Tasmat, from that. Sattvam, the mode of goodness. Yet, which? Brahma, the absolute truth. Darshanam, realization. Translation: firewood is a transformation of earth, but smoke is better than the raw wood. And fire is still better, for by fire we can derive the benefits of superior knowledge through Vedic sacrifices. Similarly, passion, rajas, is better than ignorance, tamas, but goodness, sattva, is best, because by goodness one can come to realize the absolute truth. Let's repeat together. Firewood is a transformation of earth, but smoke is better than the raw wood, and fire is still better, for by fire we can derive the benefits of superior knowledge through Vedic sacrifices. Similarly, passion, rajas, is better than ignorance, tamas, but goodness, sattva, is best, because by goodness one can realize the absolute truth. Come to realize the absolute truth. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. As explained above, one can get release from the conditioned life of material existence by devotional service to the personality of Godhead. It is further comprehended herein that one has to rise to the platform of the mode of goodness, sattva, so that one can be eligible for the devotional service of the Lord. But if there are impediments on the progressive path, anyone, even from the platform of tamas, can gradually rise to the sattva platform by the expert direction of the spiritual master. Sincere candidates must therefore approach an expert spiritual master for such a progressive march. And the bona fide spiritual master, for such progressive march, and the bona fide expert spiritual master is competent to direct a disciple from any stage of life, tamas, rajas, or sattva. It is a mistake, therefore, to consider that worship of any quality or any form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is equally beneficial. Except Vishnu, all separated forms are manifested under the conditions of material energy, and therefore the forms of material energy cannot help anyone to rise to the platform of sattva, which alone can liberate a person from material bondage. The uncivilized state of life, or the life of the lower animals, is controlled by the mode of tamas. The civilized life of man, with a passion for various types of material benefits, is the stage of rajas. The rajas stage of life gives a slight clue to the realization of the absolute truth in the forms of fine sentiments in philosophy, art, and culture, with moral and ethical principles, but the mode of sattva is a still higher stage of material quality, which actually helps one in realizing the absolute truth. In other words, there is a qualitative difference between the different kinds of worshipping methods, as well as the respective results derived from the predominating deities, namely Brahma, Vishnu, and Hara. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahmayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Sadvatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktabinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Go Premanande Haribol. This is typical of the Srimad Bhagavatam in guiding us towards spiritual improvement, and that is making clear distinctions between activity that is beneficial to us and activity that actually binds us more to the material world. In fact, this is typical of any good spiritual instruction. Bona fide instructions, for instance, come from Sri Upanishad, which distinguish between knowledge and ignorance. Anyadeva hor vidyaya, anyada hor avidyaya. Iti shushrumadhiranam yena stadvidichakshade. Sri Upanishad says there is a difference between vidya and avidya. Meaning, why do you have to even articulate that? But for thoroughness, the Sri Upanishad and the Vedic scriptures say it's important to use the human mind and intelligence to distinguish between what is vidya and what is avidya. Because iti shushumati ranam yenas tadvijachakshire, very sober minds, those who have reached the platform of nishta and are above the influence of the lower modes of material nature, have deliberated on this and then given a clear understanding that there is such a thing called vidya and avidya, and they can be mistaken. In fact, the Sri Upanishad says that if you mistake avidya to be vidya, then you're in real trouble. And Prabhupada gives the example of a cobra with a diamond on its head. It has a natural kind of pattern on its head and may look very attractive, and then one may reach out to pet the cobra or appreciate it and then be bitten. So in a similar way, although avidya may look attractive in various ways, and I think, oh, this is something that will satisfy me. Once I'm bitten by avidya, then I'm in serious shape. I become poisoned by the material nature. Furthermore, Sri Upanishad says, Anyad evohura sambhavad, anyarahura sambhavad. That there's a difference in our activities. When we give our attention towards worshiping Krishna and the Supreme Absolute Truth, we get one result, and when we worship that which is not Krishna, that which is not Supreme, then we get a different result. It sounds very rudimentary, but such rudimentary instructions can be very helpful, because the mind has a tendency to wander off into the realm of the forest, as it's described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, of material enjoyment, to try to find some satisfaction. Does it not? Yes. Thank you. So this verse then gives a hierarchy. It's a metaphor of the raw wood, and then wood that's about to burn, which is smoky. There's no fire yet. And then there's fire. And so in the analogy, the raw wood is compared to tamas, or the mode of ignorance. The smoke, or the position where it's about to manifest a flame, is called rajas. And finally, fire is called sattva. Now, the verse is inviting us to observe the different ways in which we may be affected by these three modes of material nature. And the Bhagavad Gita goes into great detail in chapter 14 and also chapter 18, describing the ways in which our psychology and our physical existence will be affected by these various modes of material nature, and also how we can progressively rise above them. Similarly, this verse is advocating the way to ultimately rise above the modes in nature. And within the context of this verse, there are several other verses which are describing how Vishnu is a personality, the original personality, who is above the three modes of material nature. And simply by placing one's attention on him and worshiping him, then one will naturally rise above the three modes of material nature. As we know, Bejare Muniyo Tagre, this is in the proximity of this verse, Bejare Muniyo Tagre Bhagavan Hamad Hoksajam Sattvam Vishuram Shemaya Kalpante Yenutaniha, which means that previously those great sages, the masters, gave their worship to Lord Vishnu because they knew him to be unaffected by the three modes of material nature. He's adhoksaja. He's beyond the modes. And therefore they derive the highest benefit. And anyone who follows in the footsteps of those sages, kalpante, they also become qualified to rise above the modes of material nature. So one has to follow in the footsteps, means anu, of these sages, follow the same process that they've laid out. And by doing so, one can progressively rise above the modes of material nature, which is a big deal. Because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, everyone, all of the devas down to the ants, they're all affected by the modes of material nature. They're all under the control of this bewildering combination, the combinations and permutations of the three gunas. Similarly, we hear in the Sri Brahma Samhita, Yastvindra Gopa Matavendra Mahosa Karma Bandhan Rupa Palabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nirdahati Kintucha Bhakti Bhajam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That from Indra, the king of heaven, down to the Indra Gopa germ, which is a tiny little insect, all are implicated in karma and therefore are receiving the results of their previous activities. And this is the implication is they're controlled by these three modes of material nature, except those who are engaged in worshiping Vishnu through bhakti bhajam. They're worshiping and directing their attention towards Vishnu and Krishna. And by that, they're actually rising above the three modes of material nature. This is mentioned also in the Padma Purana, the exemption given to those who are worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when it's described how aparada palam papam kutam bijam palon mukham kramenaiva praliyante Vishnu bhakti ratatmanam. That is, that everybody's implicated in the various stages of karma. And there are subtle stages and gross stages. The most gross stage is the manifestation of this body, about which I may complain, because I may say, why do bad things happen to good people like me? I have this body, and why does it give me so many problems? Because that's what it does. And it is a manifestation of my previous karma. So I'm going to get some good things, some bad things, some happy, some sad, that are going to come to my body. And then there's karma waiting for me, but all of these things are diminished or completely eradicated by those Vishnu Bhakti, those who are engaged in Vishnu Bhakti, Ratatmanam. There's evidence that of the effectiveness of worshiping Vishnu or Krishna. Vishnu, Krishna are the same, no difference. Vishnu is dressed for work, like when you're going to work. You dress up, you wear your nice suit and tie, right, Kurnath? Kurnath's been in court for the last three years, but especially the last 3 months. He's been in a big court battle, and he wears his tie and suit. But now you see him, he's just like our friend Kurnath, wearing a Prabhupada t-shirt. So Krishna, when he's in Goloka, he's barefoot. But when he is Vishnu, he comes out with all his briefcase and everything, his club and his lotus flower and everything like that. He's working. So either way, when one worships the Supreme, and one should understand who the Supreme is. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is giving this great benefit at the outset of telling us that Vishnu is the Supreme, and in these series of verses, in this second chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we also hear that there are other entities who are very powerful. So this is the previous verse, Sattvam Rajas Tamaiti Prakritir Gunas Tyre Yukta Para Purusha Eka Ihasya Stityade Hari Varinchi Hareti Sangya Shreyamsi Tatra Kalu Safatanur Nirnam Suhu. So this verse also describes how there's Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and that these are very elevated manifestations, each one of them, elevated personalities rather. And of the three, one can obtain the highest benefit from worshiping Vishnu. Because Shiva is a special manifestation of the Supreme. He's an incarnation of Vishnu, but because of his job, he has contact with the material modes of material nature. And therefore, there's a slight transformation in Shiva, even though practically he's as good as the personality of Godhead, but his business is to help out with the three modes of material nature, especially tamas. And therefore, like a lamp that sometimes it gets covered with a little bit of its own smoke. Therefore, it doesn't have the same kind of effect. And similarly, Brahma mentions in his Samhita Shiram Yatarad Vikara Vishesha Yogat Sanjayate Nahitata Pratagaste Heto Yasambritam Api Samupaiti karayat govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. Shiram yatad vikar vishesha yogat sanjayate nahitata pratagasti heto. Yasambutam apitata samupaiti karayat govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. So in this verse it's confirmed that Lord Shiva is like milk transformed by acid. Like if you touch milk with a little bit of lemon salt or with buttermilk that has some acid in it, then it curdles and it becomes curd or yogurt. So in a similar way, Vishnu is like milk and Shiva is slightly transformed because of his touch with the material nature. And Brahma is practically empowered as omniscient by the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the power to create the whole material world and be as powerful as he is. Nonetheless, he's an agent of the Supreme Lord. So it's helpful to know, and we're being informed in the outset, where to play of the Bhagavatam, where to put our attention, where to place our worship on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by doing so, one can gradually rise above the modes of material nature. So back to the verse. Partivad dharano dumas tasman agnis trayimayaha tamasas rajas tasmat sattvam yad brahmadarshanam. So sattvam yad brahmadarshanam. As far as organizing our life, we should try to come to the platform of sattva. And why? Because sattvam yad brahmadarshanam. This darshanam, brahmadarshanam means that one, from the position of sattva, one can see Brahman, one can see spirit. This is also confirmed by Lord Shiva in the 4th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where he says, Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam Yad Iyate Tatra Puman Bhavrita. Next line. Sattvam Natasmin Bhagavan Vasudevo. Last line. Just look it up. So this verse, Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam Yad Iyate Tatra Puman Bhavrita. Sattvim Tasme Bhagavan Vasudevo. This verse confirms that when one removes the lower modes of material nature, Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam, one comes to a position of purified goodness, and from that position one can see Krishna, not otherwise. Therefore, Prabhupada was very thorough in educating us that if somebody is affected by by the lower modes of material nature and claims to be having direct darshan with Krishna, this is very suspect. Yes? Yad hoksaje me manasa yadhyate. Therefore, he says, does Lord Shiva, in the verse I was quoting, Sattvam Vishuddham, I'm always offering my obeisances to Lord Vasudeva. And this, by the way, is known as the state of Vasudeva. It's a state that we can attain through devotional service. By practicing devotional service, we gradually become freed from the lower modes of material nature, something we talked about in last Wednesday's class, did we not? The progression? Say yes. That's what we did. We talked from Bhagavatam. And that we gradually come to this point above the lower modes of material nature. So sattvam yad brahmadarshanam, that's the goal. You have to come to pure sattva in order to have a clear vision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to be able to see Him and in your mind and heart offer obeisances to Him, as Lord Shiva is doing constantly. So there are many ways in which people act in this world. And for instance, not just people, animals, in Vrindavan there are many monkeys. And they're very active, but for no good reason. They simply cause trouble. Everywhere you go, the monkeys are looking around. They have shifty eyes. The rhesus monkeys are looking around. They're thinking, like, what can I break next? Or what can I steal next? And I watch them, especially in Lowy Bazaar. They've become extremely expert at stealing people's glasses. Now they're taking bead bags. Watch out. It's dangerous, actually. And people coming in a rickshaw, they're just talking, and next thing a monkey jumps down, grabs the glasses, jumps back up on the roof, and then the people look up, could I have my glasses back? And the monkey chews them and starts to break them. He knows what he's doing, and he's watching the face. He enjoys watching the face of the person. Those are my $500 glasses. And you're like, why? No reason. Just that's what I do, because I'm in the mode of ignorance, and I like to break things, and that's what my job is in life when I'm in the mode of ignorance. Very active, but to no good. And so this is active foolish. And then in the mode of passion, people look like they're doing a lot. But as Prabhupada points out in his lecture on this verse, Partiva Dharano Dumas, smoke disturbs, but it very rarely ever serves. You get smoke and it looks like something's happening. And something's about to happen, but it never quite happens. It's simply disturbance, and it's not a productive state. You may go to someone's home. They invite you for dinner, and you sit in the living room, and the kitchen's right next to it. You can hear the pots moving, and somebody's in there cooking, and they invited you, and you're sitting in the waiting room, and you're talking, and you're getting hungrier and hungrier. When am I going to eat? And the dinner never comes. You just hear about it. You just hear the pots moving. But they never invite you, and it never comes out. So similarly, in the mode of passion, it is characterized by unlimited longings and desires. I'm hearing about it, as Prahlad Maharaj says, Kutra, Shisha, Shruti Sukham, Mrigatrishni Rupa. It's a mirage. And you hear about the happiness, but you never actually get to taste it. It never actually comes out. It's simply titillation of the senses, thinking that, I'm about to get something, but you never quite get it. This is what smoke is like. It indicates something, like maybe fire is coming, but it's not there yet. One has to come to sattva-gun in order to actually experience the nectar of life. And from the sattva-gun, sattva yad brahmadarshanam, one experiences satisfaction, because one realizes that I am a part and parcel of the Supreme, and that I'm really in a good position because I'm actually in the same category as the Supreme. And when one realizes this, even for a second, then one feels a kind of exhilaration that can't be had by getting a new Porsche. Is it Porsche or Porsche? Okay. Or is it then my Toyota? So Porsche or Porsche. It was an old joke I heard. So you can't get it from any stimulation of the senses, any so-called ambitious activity within the material world. It just indicates something higher, but you never quite taste it. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport here that there are certain kinds of aesthetics in this world through art and poetry, where we're hearing about love, we're hearing about the beauty of nature and so forth. And it's intriguing, and it seems quite satisfying, but it doesn't quite do it because it doesn't include the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In fact, this is the subject matter in a later chapter of this first canto, when Vyasadeva, although he has been quite eloquent in producing poetry and stories that describe even self-realization, Narada comes along and says, Naishkarmyam apyachuta bhava varjitam nashobate yad brahmatam. Oh, I'm sorry, today. Nashobate jnanam alam niranjanam kutak punash shashvad abhadram ishvare kutak punash tad nacharpitam karma yadapya karanam. So this verse says, Naishkarmyam apyachuta bhava varjitam. If you have self-realization, even, that is describing the ways in which you've given up material desires, if it doesn't have a chuta bhava, it doesn't have that aesthetic of emotion towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the rasa of relationship between devotees and Krishna and how they're serving him in various ways, then nashobate jnanam alam niranjanam. Nashobate means it's not pleasing enough. It doesn't satisfy you enough. What to speak of fruit of activities, and also in context of today's purport, what to speak of the kinds of aesthetic we get in the material world. You can go to movies, and there's some lovey-dovey stuff, and there's this separation and all this. But because it's between conditioned souls, you don't quite get the satisfaction that you need. It's smoke. It actually just disturbs you, and it doesn't serve you. But when you come to the topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and when you come to actual devotional service authorized by the bona fide spiritual master through the disciplic succession, then you feel that now I've got something. Now I'm actually coming into the light. Now I'm actually experiencing that which I've always wanted. Abhishta doham, Bhagavatam says, Karabhajana Muni says, you can get your heart's desire fulfilled, and you know it. You know it so much that you surprise yourself, because you say, how come I'm not interested in anything else that I was interested in before? It's because now I feel that I have something better. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna goes into detail about the three modes of material nature for a good reason, and that is that there's a practical application of spiritual life in which we become acquainted with the three modes, and we also learn how to adjust our life so that we can come to sattva. So in the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, starting in text number 16, Krishna says, the result of pious action is pure, and is said to be in the mode of goodness. But action done in the mode of passion results in misery, and action performed in the mode of ignorance results in foolishness. So what you have here in goodness is pious, it's pure. Mode of passion is misery. That's pretty clear, right? Cause and effect. And action in ignorance results in foolishness. So, Prabhupada writes, the result of pious activities in the mode of goodness is pure. Therefore, the sages who are free from illusion are stimulated in happiness, situated in happiness. But activities in the mode of passion are simply miserable. And the activity for material happiness is bound to be defeated. If, for example, one wants to have a skyscraper, so much human misery has to be undergone before a big skyscraper can be built. The financier has to take much trouble to earn a mass of wealth, and those who are slaving to construct the building have to render physical toil. The miseries are there. Thus, Bhagavad Gita says that in any activity performed under the spell of the mode of passion, there is definitely great misery. There may be a little so-called mental happiness. I have this house or this money, but that is not actual happiness. As far as the mode of ignorance is concerned, the performer is without knowledge, and therefore all his activities result in present misery, and afterwards he will go on toward animal life. Animal life is always miserable, although under the spell of the illusory energy Maya, the animals do not understand this. Slaughtering poor animals is also due to the mode of ignorance. The animal killers do not know that in the future the animal will have a body suitable to kill them. This is the law of nature. In human society, if one kills a man, he has to be hanged. That is the law of the state. Because of ignorance, people do not perceive that there is a complete state controlled by the Supreme Lord. Every living creature is a son of the Supreme Lord, and he does not tolerate even an ant's being killed. One has to pay for it. So indulgence in animal killing for the taste of the tongue is the grossest kind of ignorance. A human being has no need to kill animals because God has supplied so many nice things. If one indulges in meat eating anyway, it is to be understood that he is acting in ignorance and is making his future very dark. Of all kinds of animal killing, the killing of cows is most vicious because the cow gives us all kinds of pleasure by supplying milk. Cow slaughter is an act of the grossest type of ignorance. In Vedic literature, Rig Veda 9.46.4, the words gobi prinitta matsaram indicate that one who, being fully satisfied by milk, is desirous of killing cow is in the grossest ignorance. There's also a prayer in the Vedic literature which states, Namo Brahmanya Devaya, Gobrahmana Hitaya Cha, Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. My Lord, you are the well-wisher of the cows and the brahmanas, and you are the well-wisher of the entire human society and world. The purport is that the special mention is given in that prayer for the protection of the cows and the brahmanas. Brahmanas are the symbol of spiritual education, and cows are the symbol of the most valuable food. These two living creatures, the brahmanas and the cows, must be given all protection. That is real advancement of civilization. In modern human society, spiritual knowledge is neglected and cow killing is encouraged. It is to be understood then that human society is advancing in the wrong direction and is clearing the path to its own condemnation. A civilization which guides the citizens to become animals in their next lives is certainly not a human civilization. The present human civilization is, of course, grossly misled by the modes of passion and ignorance. It is a very dangerous age, and all nations should take care to provide the easiest process, Krishna consciousness, to save humanity from the greatest danger. So now take 3 minutes and turn to somebody next to you and share a reflection. That is anything that you've heard so far that about the verse, the purport, the dialogue, the monologue that stuck in your mind. And then the person that you shared with is going to share it with us. Are you ready? Yes. Okay, you have 3 minutes. Go. I'm so excited to hear this. Okay, so please We'll take a few reflections. Tell us what your partner told you. Realizations. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so, my friend Namaskaram Prabhu is telling that you said that how do we know that we are progressing in devotional service? And the proof is that the taste is changing. Because we have a lot of things we used to do, maybe movies, listening music. Now, even if we have time, or just tune on to the some lectures. So that means our taste is changing. We are progressing.
Very good. Thank you. Very helpful. I'll just give some evidence for that. Further evidence from Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhakti parishanu bhavu viraktir anyata traisha trika ekakala prapadya manasya yatasna tasus tushti pushti shuddha payonugasam. This verse comes in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and it says that as a hungry person eats food and discovers nourishment, satisfaction, and eradication of hunger with every morsel that he or she eats, similarly, when a person takes to the bona fide process of spiritual life and is engaged in surrendering, you're deliberately doing it, then bhakti parishanubhavu virakti anyata traisha. So there's a way in which simultaneously, as you perform this, you get three effects. One is that bhakti arises in your heart. You actually develop an affection for God and for the process of devotional service, as in you're chanting the holy name and it's very appealing to you. You like it. You like the deity. You like the devotees. Bhakti parishanubhavu. This means that you start to see directly for yourself the presence of the Supreme. And finally, anyatra virakti means that all other things that aren't related to devotional service become abhorrent to you. And that naturally happens. And so we have to take our temperature regularly and see. Now, the converse to that is that if one's taste for devotional service is flagging, then one can understand that one may be committing offenses while chanting the holy name of the Lord. Because as Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in the conversation he wrote about between Haridas Thakur and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Haridas Thakur, the Nama Acharya, the supreme teacher of chanting the holy names, points out that if you're committing offenses, there's a point at which, this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Madhurya Kadambini, says that if you're committing offenses in chanting the holy name, then there's a point at which, just as a worker who's coming late to work every day, the merchant might finally lock him out and say, sorry, you can't come in and work today. And it's like, let me in. It's like, too late, get out of here. And until he's reformed, he won't be allowed to come in and do his job. So in a similar way, if I commit offenses, then I may lose my taste until I realize the severity of the situation and become alarmed by it and say, I have to get this back again, and then sincerely try over, then gradually I can get it back. So we have to be careful and see what are my symptoms. Thank you for sharing that. Who's next will share what their partner said? Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Malini Mataji shared a very nice point about the mode of passion, that though it's not, it's lower than mode of goodness, but it can give the slightest clue of the more like self-realization, and it can come in the form of art, culture, or ethical principles. So that's actually good. And those people, and then we were discussing with Mataji that those people in the mode of passion that can be, they also can be introduced to Krishna consciousness through this art culture, so we can use it also. Nice point. Yes, Prabhupada mentions in the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita that the Vedic literatures are there to transfer our attention from the mundane stories that I'm so used to, and from the mode of passion and ignorance, into the transcendental stories. So many people have become attracted to Krishna book. One of Akurnath Prabhu's specialties is distributing Krishna book.
he spent weeks, months, years down in Santa Cruz behind a table. And he specialized in distributing Krishna book because he appreciated that people, he would show them, these are stories. In fact, we used to say when we distribute Krishna book, we'd say, do you like Westerns? And people say, yeah, I like Westerns. Great, this is an Eastern. And so, it's kind of like, oh yeah, stories, I can relate to that. That's one of Srila Vyasadev's specialties also. He presented stories so that their minds would become attracted. And very nice point about art and culture. The way in which people generally become attracted is when they see something that's aesthetically beautiful, that appeals to them viscerally. They see it and they, oh, this is good. Nice food. You guys give out food. You guys have art. It's beautiful. They're singing. And later on they go like, by the way, what's this all about? After it's too late, they've already jumped in and go like, I love you guys, what do you do anyway? What do you believe? The philosophy comes later, but that definitely opens the door. Such a good point. Yes?
I remember last year on Harinam in San Francisco, after Black Friday, one lady, she was dancing so ecstatically and she was so happy. And then, yes, really by the end, she came and approached and she asked, what does it mean? Yes.
That's right. Yeah, so naturally, I see that even with, there's a lot of therapy going on with people who have dementia. And, they'll just be sort of in a lost state, and then these therapists, they'll bring headphones, and they'll put them on, and they hear like some upbeat music rhythm, and they all stand up and start dancing. It's like, and they become happy again. And there's a way in which, music opens the heart, rhythm opens one's channels, and then when you add the mantra into that, then it's natural that it goes deeply within. Yes. Okay, Shraddha, were you next? Who's next? Okay, you did raise your hand? Okay, go ahead.
I actually wanted to also continue and comment on Malini Mataji's observation, because I was thinking about the words from Brahma Samhita, the Ananda Chinmaya, where it talks about the 64 artistic qualities. So that's coming from Radha, and also wanted to mention that Malini Mataji actually dressed the deities, which is an artistic quality.
You dressed the deities today. Just say. Yes, and this is one of the reasons we have the Panchratrik Vidhi. It's very engaging to put together all the... Part of worshiping the deity is collecting the items. This is the first aspect of worshiping the deity. So you have to go out and collect items. So what do you collect? You're going out and you get the flowers, you get incense, you get oils. You have to put the paraphernalia together. When you have shiny paraphernalia, that's one of the aspects of devotional service. In fact, copper is said to be the best. And I asked our deity worship minister why copper is the best. And he said, because it takes so much work to keep it shiny. He said, Krishna likes that. But when you see it all lined up, it is aesthetically pleasing. And there's a kind of satisfaction. And it's not used for any other purpose on earth. In fact, I know this because when I travel with my deities and I carry all my paraphernalia with me. And I usually take it out, even though I go through, what's that special line called? The TSA, pre-check. I have that. But still I take it out, because when it goes through the metal detector and people go, what is that? There's little conch shells and all kinds of metal paraphernalia. So I take it out, and people take a look at it and go like, what is that again? So many items they can't. I was like, oh yeah, that's for worshiping God. In fact, I was going through the security in Kennedy Airport, and they saw little bags with my Sheilas in them. And they said, what's in there? And I said, it's a sacred stone. So I said, let's see. So I took it out, and a whole crowd of people got around. They were just passengers. They should have been in a hurry or something. They're like, sacred stone, let me see the sacred stone. And so I opened it up. I said, see, there. And Giri Raj is smiling, like, and one guy goes, well, what makes it, he was being sincere, and he goes, what makes it sacred? And I said, it comes from a hill that Krishna lifted with his little finger. So these things are practically inconceivable to the human mind. They don't equate. but they're aesthetically pleasing. The stories, the paraphernalia, collecting flowers. Who gets to do that? All these things are very pleasing to the mind and heart. And they relate to Krishna in a very personal way. Okay, what other... yes, let's take 3 more.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Shubhankar Krishna Das Prabhu and Prabhu shared the example of a monkey. That, monkey is in mode of ignorance and his job is just to, break things and enjoys. And then he mentioned the example of Mrugrari, that, once they get association, they, move towards the higher mode of nature.
It's important, isn't it, in the context of this discussion, because Prabhupada had mentioned that the spiritual teacher should be able to see a person, tamas, rajas, sattva, and properly engage such a person. Just like a medical doctor will look at somebody and say, oh, this is what you need at this time. And so from any position, Krishna consciousness is so powerful that one can be prescribed a certain kind of service and be elevated because of that. Yes, thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. We discussed actually a couple of points, I think, Pawan Prabhuji. So we started off with the last line of the verse, 1, 2, 24, where you mentioned about Sattvam Yat Brahma Darshanam, right? How we have to transcend the modes to really, get to the point of, understanding Krishna. And one point, the second point that Prabhuji mentioned that caught my attention was where people in the mode of passion, they think they're achieving a lot, but they're not. So that thing was really surprising. And I think the last thing we ended was, in the purport, right, where we talked about how the people in the mode of passion and ignorance, they're thinking they're advancing, right, but they're going in the wrong direction. So the only way to save is by, moving or thinking about Krishna and moving them towards Krishna consciousness. Yeah.
Yes, it's an important conviction to have in life. Otherwise, you can harm yourself and lose important time. Yeah. Okay, 2 more. 1, 2, right there.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Govind Prabhu was sharing a realization from Hari Bhakti Sudhoday that any kind of seva other than Hari Bhakti is like decorating someone who doesn't have pran or life force, like dead.
Yes, a decoration in dead body. Bhagavat Bhakti Hinasya. So it says in this verse from the Hari Bhakti Sudhoday that just as a person, a mortician, he has the job of decorating the body after it's dead. In some cultures they don't burn the body, but they dress it up. They have a little tuxedo, like, ooh, he looks so nice now. And so put a diamond ring on him, and dressing up the dead body, unless you're doing devotional service. Is that the verse you were talking about? Yeah. Very graphic. Okay, last one.
Hare Krishna. So in our team, Sarvanand Prabhu...
You had a think tank going back there.
Sarvanand Prabhu, he shared that whole week he has been tuning into the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita classes of yours, and he's feeling greatly satisfied. 3 of them, Prabir Prabhu, Sarvanand Prabhu and Venkatesh Prabhu, spoke the same thing. The analogy they really liked is the analogy of smoke. Looks like it's going to give us some promises, but it never comes. So they really appreciated, all of us, we appreciated that the mode of passion always promises something. The kitchen example, the same thing, it's never fulfilled.
Yeah. Over-promise, under-delivered. And the mode of goodness, it over-delivers. It gives you more than you could possibly imagine. It's like it's described in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says when you start realizing yourself, your transcendent self, through this clear channel of the mode of goodness that's unaffected by the lower modes, Krishna says then you feel a satisfaction where you feel there's no greater gain. And you realize yourself through transcendental senses. Yes. Okay, so, last one. Yes.
Yeah, I realized that I took the phone and forgot to a microphone and forgot to tell what Manjula Kanta had shared. So she was also commenting on the smoke part of it, that smoke disturbs and hardly ever serves. But yet the drive to be smoke is so powerful, or to be in the smoke itself. Like, how you want to go to a hookah bar. That was the term she used.
A hookah bar, yeah.
A hookah bar.
Hookah, yeah.
Hookah. And how people will continue to do charvita, puna puna, charvita, charvananam there. And then how there's a need for a guru to, transcend from the negative and go over to the positive side of it. That how Srila Prabhupada, through his mercy, was able to convert even drugs addicts and drunkards into devotional service. And then what is it that you need to get a guru? How come a drunkard can become a devotee, but yet a person could be coming to the temple all the time and offering flowers and all that, but still doesn't get the bhakti. So there are subtleties of bhakti, and without which, if you don't do devotional service properly, then, anything else which is not related to devotional service actually becomes abhorrent, like that. So.
Yeah, the smoke thing. I mean, it's a perennial favorite of people in the mode of passion and ignorance to smoke. And like, what is it? Prabhupada used to bring this up. And it was so funny. Prabhupada noticed all these things when he came to America. Of course, they're going on in India also, but he noticed that there were billboards advertising a kind of cigarette in America. You won't know about these things, but there was a cigarette that was very popular, especially in a certain culture. It was called Kool, and it was spelled with a K, and the two O's crossed each other. It was a menthol cigarette, which means that they put in some kind of chemical that makes it like when you eat a mint, it makes your throat feel kind of like cool. And so you'd smoke these cigarettes, and they called Kool. And only that cool means like, I'm cool. And so Prabhupada noticed, he's like, you're smoking hot fire, and then you call it cool. And the devotees thought it was hilarious because Prabhupada was observing all these things from his pristine vantage point, beyond the modes of nature. And, just pointing all these things out that should have been obvious. And even nowadays, like we were on Sankirtan somewhere. It was the East Coast, I think, maybe in North Carolina. And we were going into these little malls, the little strip malls. And one of them was called Gray Haze. And inside they're selling these little electronic cigarettes. Maybe I'm saying it wrong, but there's a kind of electronic cigarette where you put in some kind of flavor, and somehow it atomizes the tobacco. So it's just a very refined kind of smoke. What is it called? Zoo? Raping? Vaping. Raping, vaping. So vaping, whatever it is. So and they were in there, and there was a gray haze inside the room because they were all trying these different kinds of things. But I asked them about the flavors, and they said there's all these different flavors that you can get, and like hundreds of them. And then the kids, they get these little machines, and then they blow smoke, and I started noticing it everywhere. And these big clouds of smoke coming out of people's cars, and they're blowing smoke. In fact, that's an old saying. If somebody's saying some nonsense, you say, you're just blowing smoke. And it's indicative of the mode of passion. It's like it seems like strum and drung. There's something really going on here. There's smoke coming out. It's like, but what are you actually doing? You're just wasting money and blowing up your lungs and all this kind of stuff. This is the mode of passion. It's a waste. Blowing smoke everywhere you go. Yes. Yeah.
I have two questions. I'm going to go for it. One was about the guru. I have a question considering that, we always say Brahmanan Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev. So it is a very rare situation that a Jeev can find a guru. Is there, I was thinking that even in the temple, we look around us and we see people who have done service for decades and still are waiting for Guru. It's taking them so long to find that connection. And then people walk in, they get Guru, they move on, they're second initiated, and there's this different, it looks like different universes, One's going really fast and the other's going really slow. And I was thinking about that when this sloka came out, and I was thinking, Does that make one better or worse? Is it a faster process for some because they've done it, they've earned their Sukriti from before and they're just coming back to where they left off? Or is there something else, an element missing? I'm trying to understand the connection between getting Guru and doing service. We assume that if we do service, Guru comes and everything should follow in an A to Z pattern. But here I'm seeing the pattern so different for every different person.
Well, gardeners know that plants have their unique nature, and the Shastra says that every living entity has its own unique nature and also circumstances. And so when I'm gardening, I always notice this about plants. Some of them take a long time to grow up and fructify, and they may take longer than others. Bamboo shoots right up, and it has its own quality and nature. And trees, like a peach tree, if you plant it when it's new, it takes a long time before it comes up and starts giving fruit. And similarly, every living entity has its own process. And we see sometimes that some devotees are late bloomers, but then you see the rich quality that they have, a special thing that they have to add. Some of them rush in and start right away. Maybe they have momentum from previous life. Maybe they have already connection in certain ways that we don't know. And sometimes people that go faster, they may do it in a more superficial way or not. But there are many different ways in which living entities have connection with Krishna and Guru according to their own particular circumstances. So one has to, it's not a stereotype process. One has to consider.
We can't push it forward, right? It's not
well, you can. That's what preaching means. You're going up to everybody and saying, "Hey, by the way, take this book. You should listen to me." We're actually intervening in people's lives. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a missionary movement. So we do. And when people come into the assembly of devotees, we do push them. But you have to do it appropriately also, and it can't be artificial. There's different ways that we try to make the whole guru process artificial. That's been done before also. It's like you have to get initiated by this person. There is nobody else. And, let them make a choice. Even now tomorrow we're having this IDC, the ISKCON Disciples Course, because there's some education in there, even within the context of ISKCON, that there's this idea, like sometimes you get into a sangha, particular sangha, and all the disciples of particular guru are saying, no, you have to get social pressure. You have to get initiated by this person because, we're all in that group. It's kind of gang mentality that people get into. It's like you have to be in our gang, otherwise we'll kill you. So that's also not correct. There has to be kind of an environment where everyone feels like they're being encouraged according to their own propensity and who they feel inspired by as a Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru, all these kinds of things. Part of the task of having a successful organization like this is creating an environment where people feel nurtured and encouraged to go according to their own capacity. Encouraged they must be, but it's described by Bhaktivinoda Thakur like climbing a ladder. If you go too fast, you can slip, and if you go too slow, then your advancement will be distant. So correct presentation of how to take help from the guru, what's an ideal disciple look like and act like, what is the guru's role and how is the guru supposed to act. There's Diksha Guru, there's Shiksha Gurus. And also we have an extra component within ISKCON because then we have an organization in which we have to consider that there's a kind of cooperative effort that we're undergoing to push on the mission. And so all of these ideas come to bear, and we have to be a little bit subtle, and we have to educate ourselves so that we know how to interact with all of this. If you oversimplify the process or try to make it blunt or without considering the particular needs and concerns and interests of the practitioners, then you may cause some trouble along the way.
My other question was when it comes to
But I noticed that, sorry to interrupt, Prabhupada talks about many of these things. It's important for Guru Tattva to read the first chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Vande Gurun Isha Bhaktan. The very opening statement of the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, whose appearance day it is today? No? Or disappearance? Is that, he's worshipping Vande Gurun, plurality of gurus. And then he starts to say what the gurus are. And in Prabhupada's purports are very helpful in there. He says it's very important to have a guru. And then he says, you should develop natural faith in the guru. And we notice that devotees have to, every pot has its lid. Have you ever heard that? Somebody's like, I have to find the right person to live. Every pot has its lid. You just wait. You'll find the right fit. So similarly, the living entity, we find that living entities they're attracted to a particular kind of guru, and also they find help there. They find inspiration, and they see their ideals. Like, I want to be like that. This is where I'm getting my help, and then they naturally gravitate in a certain way, and that has to be fostered. That kind of faith. And it's because we have a plurality of gurus and also an organization to maintain. It requires a little dexterity to keep an organization like this open and going, and without coming into the natural pitfalls of being sectarian, finding oneself exclusive, that there's only this, only my guru is advanced. These kinds of things are natural for living entities to do on a mundane platform, so we have to be careful not to do that. There's a lot to be said about that, and some of it would be said at the IDC, right? Some of these points come up? Yes? And you had number 2?
Yes. The other question was, even though we train ourselves we know the processes by which we can stay connected to bhakti, and at times of difficulty, we are reminded to go back to those processes. I noticed every time we are in difficulty, we tend to go back to the things that we have trained ourselves to find comfort in. So if we've come into bhakti much later in life and we're picking up, it takes a kind of a repeated struggle to see the smoke is not serving, to figure out that even though I am naturally inclined towards these things, they're not helping anymore. So that's one thing.
Naturally inclined toward what things?
Towards things like if I'm having a really difficult time and I chant and I do my japa and I do a little bit of Bhagavatam, and then at some point when I'm struggling and I'm in trouble, I notice that I don't gravitate towards doing a little more japa. Like I pick up the bag and I chant, which should come naturally to me as a source of solace. Instead, the mind tells you to go back to either read a book or listen to some music or go do something else that earlier used to be my regular track.
That's why Sangha is so important and hearing so important. If you get good association, then you'll feel inclined to go back towards those things. And Krishna helps in many different ways. Even if I start falling into the, bad influence, Krishna might come and, give us a smack. Or once I told this story before, but it's so meaningful to me. My mind comes back to it. It's like, Krishna, how'd you instruct me like this? I was a brahmachari. I was in Los Angeles. I was every day going to the airport to distribute books, LAX. And one day I was having a down day. In fact, a down week, maybe even a down month. And I was feeling like kind of discouraged. And I called my mom. And because she was a great inspiration for me throughout my life. And I was talking to her on the phone, and I said, I really feel down, and this and that. She goes, you listen to me. You put your hand in that bag, and you start chanting. I was like, wow, did you say that, or did Krishna say that? Can you say that again? And, before she died, I had a great benefit to be with her. She was fully lucid because she fasted to death before she died. She stopped drinking water, and so there was a chance for me to spend 4 days with her just talking. And I asked her, I said, you remember that time I called you from the payphone LAX, and I said I was having a bad day? And she goes, yes, I remember. I was like, wow, she remembered. And I said, why did you tell me that? You remember what you told me? She says, yeah, I remember. And so she said, I saw you leave the material world. You did it deliberately. You walked out on everything. He said, I knew I didn't want you coming back the other direction for any reason. So I told you that. I knew it was the best thing. And all I could figure was like Krishna was speaking through her. And I always remember that. You know, whenever things seem overwhelming, and I just think, you put your hand in that bag and you start shaking. You know, you can get some instruction like that from any direction. Krishna can help us in different ways. And then, and yes, the instinct that you go back to what works. Prabhupada wrote to Jayananda Prabhu. Prabhupada apparently he had written a letter to Prabhupada about, some similar letter, I don't feel right. And Prabhupada said, it's the same old answer, chant Hare Krishna. And if you can become invested in the basics every day and stick to that, read the Bhagavatam, do your chapter of Gita, and read the Gita, and chant good rounds. Keep coming back to that. It must be my rounds. I'm not doing my rounds well enough if I don't feel right. Then you actually get traction from the simplest of things, and then you can expand from there. But without the foundation, then you can't really, you can waste time. So come back to the basics. Yes, we have 5 more minutes, and I have to go because we have a program up in Sacramento, so I'm leaving a little bit early today. So you have extra time for catch up on japa and Bhagavatam and everything.
Maharaj, yeah, it's very interesting the last thing you told, like how we come back to the practices, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. Because in corporate there are so many seminars, they talk about mindfulness, this, that, like from secular world. Then I see that they don't have any solid practice that you can take. It's just like more on the mind level, not on any practical level. That I always wonder, okay, at last slide they should say that they should read Bhagavad Gita or some chanting that they should introduce it. They will just tell, okay, 10 minutes, something. It's like no solid thing, but here we have solid process that we can take shelter of to go through the situation.
Yeah, we have Bhagavat Marg and Panchratrik Vidhi that run on parallel tracks. And Jiva Goswami and all our acharyas say you have to have both. Therefore, we have deity worship, where we come and we see the deity, we engage in deity worship, and that means learning how to stay clean also, because to worship the deity you have to be clean. This helps to keep us naturally in the mode of sattva. If you worship a deity, then you say, I have to attend the deity, means I have to take my bath. Means I have to put on tilak. As one of Mahaprabhu's students showed up at his toll. He had these little tolls, these little classes that he'd hold for all the students when he was a young man. And one of them showed up without tilak on. He said, go home. I know you didn't do your puja today. You're not wearing tilak. You didn't properly do your ablutions today. Go. So I always remember that when I approached Mahaprabhu at home. We have our altar, I open my altar. I can't go in there without tilak. It's like, hi, it's like Mahaprabhu's, get out of here. Go back. And that is a life. On one side, we're performing Panchratrik Vidhi. We should worship the deity every day. If at home, it should be simple worship, but it should be there. The deity should be the center of our house. We open the deity in the morning and say, okay, I'm working for you all day long, and you should bring him something. And don't try to shortchange the Lord. You should feed him. Because that's what my friend Guru Kripa once told me. I was helping him in his house. He has this elaborate deity worship, and we're getting the plates ready for the morning offering. And so I was putting sabji in one of the bowls, and I didn't fill it all the way up. And he looked at me and like, what's wrong with you? He said, fill it up. And I said, okay. And I started filling it up, and he goes, never try to shortchange the Lord. So you got this personal relationship that helps keep you clean and always, aware of the personal form of the Lord. Because in the material world, affected by rajas and tamas, it's not intuitive that people think of the form of the Lord. They think impersonal. And even a person who becomes distant from the process of Panchratrik Vidhi, and also it starts taking in bad association, they can, you could become a Buddhist all of a sudden and start thinking like, yeah, let me become void. It's happened. It happens. So you have to have Panchratrik Vidhi. You have to have some reciprocation from the deity. You bring things to the deity, and the deity reciprocates in your heart. You have to feel that directly yourself. And you have to know when you decorate the deity that you feel decorated, just like Prahlad Maharaj says in his prayers. He says, just like when you paint your face, you look in the mirror and you see it's become painted, right? And then you have to have Bhagavat Marg on the other track. You have to read Bhagavatam every day. And you have to chant Hare Krishna really hard. Like, you know, your life depends on it. You have to at least, I mean, you have to chant all your, at minimum 16 rounds, but you have to, some of them, you have to really be crying out loud, like, you know, I need help down here. I'm helpless. Unless you have that experience every day, it's a foregone conclusion that you'll become attracted to some smoke, which is some stupid nonsense. And then you have to pay the price for that, which is that you know, stupid nonsense makes you stupid. It makes you do stupid things, and that's a waste of time doing stupid things. So just do smart things and try to keep the foundation there, and even a little foundation, Mahaprabhu said in the Panchratrik Vidhi and the Bhagavat Marg together. He gives these five basic principles that if you stay in touch with these, read Bhagavatam in the association of devotees who are more advanced than yourself. That's powerful. Chant Hare Krishna like your life depended on it. I'm adding some extra commentary. Then live in a holy place. You have to feel what it's like to be in a holy place. Like Sundarananda, he always comes here and just stays in the temple room. I mean, this is an example. He likes it here. I come in here and I see him and he's like smiling. He's just hanging around. He just hangs around in a holy place. You should want to do that rather than hang around at a, you know, at a hockey match or something like that where everyone's going, yeah. You know, want to live in a holy place. Then you should associate with devotees. Because devotees carry the personality of God in their life, in their heart, and they also have enthusiasm for devotional service, and they'll give it to you for free. And number 5, deity worship. You have to have deity worship in your life. This is very important. You have to see the smiling face of the deity. You have to smell the incense. You have to dance before the deity and clap your hands before the deity, but not too loud. It's really, you know, don't clap too loud. It hurts the ears. And you know, learn to worship the deity too. Come up to the point where in the Pancha Samskar, where you're advanced enough so you're asked to come and do some personal service for the deity in some way, like addressing the deity or taking care of the plates or something like that. There's nothing like the rarefied atmosphere of the Pujari room to instill in you a sense of bhakti. When I first came to the temple in San Francisco, they put me in making garlands. And they put me in a completely clean room. I had to be bathed from top to bottom, clean cloth, in order to go and touch the garlands. And I sit in there and just using my creative imagination how to make a garland for the Lord. And there was some audio tape playing of Prabhupada in that room. And I just felt completely satisfied and transformed, and I didn't want to go anywhere else. I had some positive engagement. So this Panchratrik Vidhi gives us that. And also part of the Bhagavat Marg is preaching Krishna consciousness, going out and teaching. I had such a nice experience the other day. What day was that? Thursday. Thursday we went down to San Jose State University, where apparently it costs $20,000 a year to get an education. Is that true? That's amazing. And I went into the class to talk about death, dying, and something else, and liberation. Death, dying, and liberation. And the teacher was a really friendly, nice person, and the students were very open. And I just had a chance, in whatever imperfect way I could, to express my realization of the philosophy. And because of that exchange between the professor and the students, and you know, trying to articulate the philosophy, I felt really satisfied and connected to Krishna. So if you have these few elements in your life, then you will naturally stay on the path of devotional service and make great progress. And you go back to Godhead, which is the most highly recommended thing. Leave this shell of a body behind, and when you do, your consciousness is fully absorbed from all the ways in which you've stayed engaged and connected to Krishna, and go back home, back to Godhead. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Vanchagopdruvascha kripasindhavevacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Like a special welcome to Jadu Thakur Prabhu, one of the great stalwarts of the San Diego Krishna Consciousness Movement. He conducts regular programs at his home and assists in that all over the San Diego area. So let's give him a warm ISV welcome. Come on, it's Jadu Thakur. He also does extensive preaching in the prison ministry, where he takes care of those souls who are know that they're behind bars, incarcerated. So he keeps in constant touch with them and has great compassion for all of them. Thanks, Jadu, for coming up here to ISV. Glad to see you. And Kurnath Prabhu has been on a marathon. He's been fighting a heavy legal case over the last 3 months. And I don't know if I can say anything more than that, except for that you can just look at his smile and see that the legal case is over, and he's a victorious person. So we're glad to have you back here at the Saturday class. Yay! And of course, when Jagarini's here, I have a high level of confidence that things are getting fixed. Because that's what she does in her life. She's always constantly going around and seeing what can be fixed and improved around the temple. And we don't practically even notice it. It's such a nice environment. But she helps to spearhead the whole operation of making sure that everything's in the right condition. But this is an important way in which we stay in Sattva Gun also. Is if something's broken, fix it right away. If there's a scratch on the wall, it has to be painted within 3 days. Everything should be spotlessly clean. In fact, I'm getting some white gloves, and I'm going to come in and start, putting my finger here and there and see where the reveal is. And this is one of the ways in which to stay in Sattva Gun is revolutionary cleanliness. Manjula Kanta is ecstatic because she's part of the temple commander team who's helping to keep this place completely in order. Right, Manjula Kanta? Yes. Hare Krishna. Gaur Premanande Haribo! So there's time now to do whatever you like. I think Prasadam will be at around 10 o'clock. But time to chant japa and do other things. And we're going to jump in our vehicle and drive to Sacramento. And we'll see you back here for the Sunday program.